Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, no matter where you're at in the world. This is co-founder of Metafide, CEO Frank Spicer, with you, Matt Cross and Big Worm Serge Tortora. Uh, we got a couple of familiar faces in the audience, and hello to everybody listening to this later. Uh, we're going to go through today a little bit about how we came about with the idea behind Surge and sort of the plan behind it and what it's going to lead into. We're fresh out of the planning from at the Metafide safe house at an undisclosed location. We got Worm and Matt able to sleep in their own beds for the first time in a while. So just want to say thanks for doing that. And how you feeling today, Matt? What's good?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm well rested. It's been 2 weeks out on the road. Was out for BTC Las Vegas, then another like 5 days or whatever for the Metafide safe house, and just happy to be over here, just ready for the next 3 months. It's going to be huge for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a chance to change a few things. What about you, Worm? It's Friday.
It's Friday, and contrary to the movie Friday, we got shit to do.
Yeah.
It was. I applaud Matt. Matt's been on the road fighting for Metafide. Was great. Matt, being a fellow dorm mate with you this week, that was a lot of fun, and we got a lot of work done in between, which is pretty great. Now back home, to your point, Frank, great to be in my own bed, and we got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, can't wait actually. So we got market summary real quick on the Web3 crypto side. We have a Bitcoin bouncing up from 101. It's now at 10, almost 105. As we have this space here, it's on a upward trajectory. A lot of crazy things happening in the world. You got looks like Elon Musk fighting with Donald Trump, and a lot of market uncertainty, but crypto still keeps on chugging. So seems like we've got a little again decoupling of the markets from where we're all headed with what we're building. So kind of good to see that we're not dependent on the general positivity in the traditional markets to succeed over here. So I mean that's great to see, and also just another proof point in this long journey we're on that we can build something with a different vision that doesn't necessarily depend on everyone else buying into the same thing at the same time. So a few of us can be out in front. And with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea behind the Surge platform and game that we're about to launch in the world here in the next month or two. And it's really something different. So we wanted to come up with a way to have people share. There's a few components to it, so I'm going to go through them. But we wanted to have a way for people to share in AI applied to financial markets. That was one. We wanted it to be something that you could understand and interact with without necessarily having to understand all the things that go into AI and predictive markets and asset price movements and all the technology that goes behind that, which is, if people want to learn that, that's great. We want to obviously, interact with those people as much as we can, but I don't feel like it's fair with the amount of firepower being applied to the markets that everybody needs to understand that in order to have an edge in the markets. And it seemed like there was sort of a blind spot where, you're going to have big institutions moving into the space with with their own predictive models, and they're obviously investing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars into it. We wanted a way for people to participate in that. And then also importantly, we wanted a way for the people component in markets to remain present and bake that into the models, because the subjectivity, what people want, what they need, and what they want to see in the world needs to have a place in these models. Because if we don't, you basically just get markets orchestrated and engineered for, as much precision as the models can produce, and you'd get a trading atmosphere in which essentially you're serving the people with the algorithms that run the fastest, that compute on just pure technicals, and that didn't seem like a world we wanted to be in, and that was important for us to get that out into the market as well. So, a couple of just general components before we start digging into how we got here. But a few, it's that FB on our team. It's his Fideversary today. He's been with us for 3 years as we built this product through research and testing and trialing things here and there. And we're finally just now starting to come out into the world. But it's been a lot of thought behind what we're doing, and a lot of people have contributed along the way. So I just wanted to take a look at kind of how we got here and why we got here. Matt, you've been involved in this one way or the other since the beginning as well. First as an investor, and now as a founder and core team member. So, what's it been like for you? Following it this far, like what are your takeaways? What can you say about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of the best experiences I've ever had in life, and I wouldn't do anything to trade this time back. I would say prior to this, I was in VC. I was investing in several other early stage companies, and I worked really closely with a bunch of these founders. But eventually, at the end of the day, I found that I believed in myself and I believed in you more than anyone else in this industry. And I realized, you could be the best founder in the world, but you have to really have these chops and be able to handle the ups and downs. And there's really no set path out there in crypto. And when I looked at, the skills and things we had, I said, okay, we have the best shot of doing this out of anyone else in this industry. So, I put all my eggs into one basket and I took the major risk and jumped onto the team over here. And, it's been a long journey so far. We've had our own up and downs as a team, but, we've always gotten through those stages, made sure to get where we are today. And I'm just really excited to finally get product out there and launch it.
Yeah. So, what would you say are the things that you believe in?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in just the overall idea of applying AI to financial markets. I believe in creating, a fun and a fair, scenario or game that allows global access to financial markets as well. Again, I believe in you, as like a CEO to lead us there and make sure that you always do right on behalf of the team and all of our partners. And I believe in the rest of the people that we brought on. Frank's been a great filter for all of this. A lot of the team members we bring into this are some of the people from the highest level of industry, because they're people that Frank has worked with for 10, 15 plus years, who have had great experiences with him and said, hey, whatever you're going to do, I'm willing to follow on, and, let's build the next great thing together.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate the good words too. Worms brought. Ashley's been a great member of the team since she's come on. Shout out here on the call. I see Dwellsy out there. He's definitely one of those like Pete Rose team guys that you add to the lineup, and it's one of those things that you don't get in just a raw corporate atmosphere. You don't get the kind of people who believe in going 10 toes down for you for a cause that they actually find viable, right? We've been trying to accumulate the kind of people on the team who have the character to withstand the challenges of changing things, where they're willing to go through the hard unknown pieces of this. And I got to shout you out, because Matt and I have both gone through three separate phases of the initial part of ramping the company, where we didn't get paid sometime for nearly 3 months, where we were paying everybody else except ourselves, and we were making sure that we were good on our promises. But at the end of the day, like, we were just making sure that had happened. And, now things are a little different. We're, funded up. We have support behind us from the venture side. It's not like we have floating money, but I like to say, part of being a founder when you're trying to do something like this, where it's not just trying to opportunistically capture something, but if you're going to do this, first of all, I encourage anybody listening, if you're going to found a company, and you have a good idea, like nobody's going to think about it with the amount of passion and care that you do. So just go do it. Go find it. Make sure you test yourself. Have a good idea. Just go do it. Like just no, Otherwise you're going to see someone else with a dumb version of your idea that might make it, and you might have a better idea. So go do it. The second thing is, growing up, I didn't have any money, so there's a certain kind of outlook you can have on things, right? And if you're going to succeed in doing something like this, I like to tell people that I had fuck you money when I had no money, right? And that, if you're waiting for the time that I can finally call the shots, I can do this, like that's not the way it works. Like if you're going to actually stand on something you believe in, you need to have had fuck you money when you have a bank account of zero, right? Or no bank account, which is perfect for crypto and Web3, because a part of what we're doing is bringing that ability to interact with financial systems to people with no access to financial systems, right? And not just one of those things where the world is where you work, you save up some money, you go put it in a bank, and then you can access it. Like that's 50 years ago, right? What we're talking about is access to the technical stack powering these outcomes. And I personally believe, and I know you do too, Matt, and I know you do, Serge, that we believe that people, they deserve access to those things, not just the ability to save and feed money to the system, but actually share in the upside. Because I don't know about you, but it feels to me like the financial system as it's orchestrated right now doesn't serve the common person in the system, or it serves them at the expense of whatever. And I know people quickly draw a line and say, "Oh, like that problem is capitalism." But in my mind, capitalism, you make some shoes, you want to make sure that your family's fed, so you sell the shoes to voluntarily people buying them, and then they turn around and give you either a transmutable thing to that you can buy the things you want, or directly the things you want. Like the thing that the bastardized, perverted thing that we're dealing with now is actually uh, a, a it's a socialized power structure at the expense of the people at the bottom, or at the people at the end of the credit chain. And it actually transfers power to a class of people that are early, that don't have to take risks. And then the people who are producing things and actually going to work and punching the clock every day, like they have to take all the risk and assume all the downside of the dilution and the work that they did, so they can't actually benefit from it. And one way to write these things is to give people access to these opportunities that come about. And so, you know, without staying on the soapbox for too long, I think it's important that those people that are doing real things, saying real things, interacting in the world with risk, have access to upside as well. And if we can do that, I can go to sleep at night feeling like I might have done something to help somebody who probably deserved it, at the expense of sometimes people who don't deserve it. And I'm fine. I can sleep like a baby knowing that the people at the top of the credit chain are scared of this idea spreading, wide and far. So, that's at least my 2 cents. Like, where are you at with this, Worm? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, I think that the large financial institutions to date, they're not. I mean, they do things for the consumer, but only because the consumer is necessary to make deposits or transact with their brand. So, if you're any one of these, very large institutions, I won't name any of them.
You know who you are.
Consumers,
you know who you are.
you know
Listen
who you
to
are.
this.
I'm not going to use this as a smear campaign. You know all of them. Down in Lower Manhattan or Midtown, you know who you are. The consumers are inputs. They're inputs to your machine, right? You need their money to fuel sort of, profits and what you're doing on your global markets desks, et cetera. This is turning it on its head, to your point, and really, bringing sort of everybody up in the system, not just inputs, but bringing up the individual wealth of everyone who participates.
Yeah. And there's two ways that we've set that you can do that is through these games and contests where you get fairly compensated for the amount of alpha you contribute to the system. So that's the first way. And then the second way, the easiest way, is once it's available to you, being able to hold the Fide token because it's a deflationary token, and then being able to share in the outcome of increased demand for that and it being used to transact in these predictive markets where what you're doing is you're holding, but the supply is dwindling and the demand is growing. So if you don't necessarily want to enter these games, you don't have to. You just hold the token and come along for the ride. And we need that. We need people who are just doing that, just the same as we need people who are incentivized to go out and get more and earn some more and participate in giving signal. And what we've done is anything but gambling, right? Where you're basically getting into a situation where you're literally mathematically fairly compensated for the amount of alpha you give to the system. And at scale, what that does is it gives us, transaction power in the markets to be able to go out and get into assets and move them one way or the other based on, sort of the intuition of people, while intuition is not quantifiable to the general market. And if we can do that, we can wedge the people signal into the predictive aspect of finance and get that out there so that the people are represented, over the long term, and it doesn't turn into, an AI arms race where people are just trying to manipulate news stories to create conflict, to sell defense stocks and ratchet up the price of food. That's not something that I necessarily want to be part of, right? So everybody that's taking part in this, it's the way we've tried to set it up is instead of it being such a pain in the ass to get involved with something like this, let's make it a fun on-ramp that serves the people directly the minute they jump into the system. Oh, this is fun. I'm sort of competing with, meeting new people, getting levered payouts when I'm correct, and getting them into a situation where they can really think about, all right, well, how can I get better at doing this? And when you bring a bunch of those people applying brain power to how to get better at figuring out crafty moves they can make inside of markets and reflecting that in the positions they take inside of our games, what you're really doing is recruiting a whole globe of people always on 24/7 to interact with these markets and not just seed it to these models that are like flipping things back and forth on technical analysis, right? I think that's pretty important to kind of what we're trying to do. Does that make sense? Like, does that does that work for you, Matt? Like, what do you think? Did I leave anything out?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to me. Really what we're able to do is take trading, which is already a global game, and we simplified it and brought it to the masses and made it fun at the end of the day. And we're providing people with great, levered outcomes without the ability to put up a ton of risk. Everyone is going into these perp dexes, putting up, 20x to 100x leverage. You have this ability to get levered outcomes off of a 1x risk in Metafide.
Yeah, that I want to just reiterate what you just said because it doesn't really exist anywhere. where there's not markets except for the one we're standing up, where your 1x risk is fairly compensated for the alpha, where there's nobody arbitraging your alpha and capping you out for what you gave to the market. Like you get the full benefit of it, but you only take a 1x risk. So, you put a position into one of our games, and essentially, based on how good it is, I think roaming is out there. I saw when he got 190,000% payout in one of the tests the other day. Like that's right. That's the right number. Is that right? Roaming, can you react to that? Was it 190,000? All right. Yeah, there he goes. He's laughing, but yes, that's correct. I saw the screenshot that Radio Frog put up. So, well done on that, by the way. And I think by having that be the entry point into the system, you help people recruit others and say, "Hey, look, this is benefiting me this way. I'm getting good at this. Here's what I'm doing." You can help have people teach each other. It's not just about the gameplay itself. It's about the way it spreads from person to person. And one thing I I like to talk about is what we're doing in Metafide is not necessarily like all corporate all the time. Everybody's got to be like, we encourage people to spend time on family and spend time on what they're doing, because all that makes for the kind of people we want involved in this, right? And so, I don't want the last thing people at Metafide to think about before they go to sleep is Metafide. I much prefer them to be like, "Hey, my life is pretty good. I like the people around me. My family's pretty chill because I'm not coming home all stressed out, and I have some upside to think about." I mean, those kind of things, when you look back at what you did and whether or not you made a difference or did anything good, is like those kind of things. Like you know, I I don't remember even the transaction of the company I started when I was at Social Flow, but I remember I remember Brian breaking a prop bottle over someone's head on the day that we got everybody together, and and had everybody uh, as a complete surprise, brought him in and had everybody, in the company, take a 1 hour break, and we did a tournament where we got Western prop bottles and had them delivered, where people came through and did that, and then people, the ideas that came the next week after we did that, where people realized like, oh, this is pretty cool to be building something cool with people. Actually, just before this session, I was listening to Oz Perlman on Joe Rogan. And the funny thing is I had that guy come into before he was really famous or big. I had him come into that company and pretend he was a sales guy, and he would do mentalism and magic tricks for people as they were getting coffee. And the great part about it is, people would come over and say, "Hey, like, have you met the new sales guy?" I'm like, "No, what's he like?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know about putting him in front of customers because it's kind of weird, but he is really great at magic." And people remember those kind of things. They don't necessarily remember the nuts and bolts about what you did, but they remember the time they spent with you and doing things with each other. And these games and this way to get people into the big project that we're doing is a way to recruit millions, hundreds of millions of people who we can make their lives better, not just with this product, but with the product that comes behind it. Like all of what we have planned is a way to get people fairly compensated for alpha, and then start standing up financial products that reward people for different time horizons. So get them in for the really quick, 1 minute, 5 minute games that give them an upside, but then give them a place to go with that value they've created that serves them. And the responsibility is on us to make sure that as we're building this, we're sort of building an arc that gets as many people on the other side as possible. And the other side, if I'm going to define it, and I'll invite other people here to define it themselves, but to get you to a place where the ratio of your choices that you get to make is good enough for you, so that when you're trying to figure out, like, am I making the decisions in my life, or is somebody else telling me what my decisions are? That's what I believe in, and that's what most of the team, I think, if not all the team at Metafide believes in, is how can we craft the rollout, the token release, the products that come on the back of that. How can we do it in such a way that it gets you enough of your choices where you're okay with it? Because I don't know, maybe can we get a thumbs up, thumbs down, like maybe as a survey on this? Like, what does anybody out there feel like currently, right now, they have enough of the choices in their life for themselves? Like, would you say yes or no? I'm just interested to see. Like, I think, right now, where it is for me is pretty good. But if you think that too many of your choices are being made by other people, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. And by the way, it it almost moves me to the point of tears to see the team at Metafide all saying thumbs up. Like, it's for what we're doing. Like, it's that, to me, is the most important thing we've done yet. And so, how can we get that for more people? That's what we're trying to fight for. And when I say fight for, it's not like we're showing up in front of these places and beating people up, which is an option, by the way, if you're listening at one of those places that we just talked about earlier. But the thing is, we can move each other along as we go, and we can build that kind of world, and it's not just for us, which has been a problem with Web3 and crypto, where people are rugging other people and running out the door with money. That's, by the way, that money is stupid. It belongs to people in an ecosystem that doesn't reward merit and character and loyalty and all those other things. Like, you can have that. You can have it. I'd rather get what we're doing the hard way through this way and get it to as many people involved with it and take the long route. Like, I'll hike the extra mile if we can do that. And if we can just find more of those people, then I love our chances, right? What do you got to say about that? Oh, you know what? Hold on. We got roaming up in here. Roaming, what do you got to say, man? I saw you coming to speak. You're on mute, bud.
Sorry, you cut out right at the end there. Did you ask a question?
Yeah, so I was just asking, like, like, I saw that you were coming in there. What do you have to say about any of that? Because you're directly tied in with the community every day. So
Yeah, I mean, I think from what the community have seen since they got involved with us last year, basically, through to now, is I think you've proven time and time again what you've been saying. Yeah, you put your actions behind your words, and we're very focused, and the team is very focused on making sure that there is that, I guess, that bigger picture encapsulation of making a real impact and a difference to people. I mean, every day we get bombarded with when launch, when listing questions, and the consistent messaging from the team is always, well, it's going to happen when it's right for everyone, right?
Right.
Getting the timing right so that it's good for the community, it's good for the project, and it actually is going to last, rather than just getting the people out who want to get out fast.
Right. Yeah. And so, just so you're listening, like, if what you're doing is trying to come along for the ride for us, then we're representing you. If what you're trying to do is just dump early because you got some tokens, like, honestly, don't give a fuck about you. Like, that, just, I don't know how to say it any more plainly than that. So, like, I want to make sure that we get you a long-term upside. And by the way, what you would have got out of that is scraps compared to what we have planned to try to do for you. So, I'm trying to find those people and trying to make sure that the people who are really in it for the right reasons. And Matt and I have had so many chances to sell the community out and do something irresponsible for them, and we haven't, and we're not going to. So it's one of those things where we're definitely building now. We have the roadmap to the release, and I can't wait to do it. But it's taken so much work and so much sacrifice to get it to here And I'm not asking for any applause or credit or anything other than the fact that we want you to be the same kind of person along for the ride. And by the way, I should shout out the Doge community, DogeOS guys, their folks, everybody that has joined us and thrown in has been a seamless integration with what we're doing. Like they believe in what we believe in. I see, my buddies there at the SCETA, they believe in what we're doing out there in the audience. And there's a whole bunch of people now that are moving to progress this new idea through the space. And we're super psyched to be, working with it on you. To give the community a little bit of guidance, right? We have a plan to get the token out. There will be some convertibility for the token. And if you do want to dump, go for it. Like when that happens, we keep saying it's not like we didn't tell you a few times that there's a plan for something on the other side of it. So if you got to be the first person off the boat, go for it. When the time comes. But we're only going to do it when it makes sense, and we're not sacrificing all of the community's input and all of the team's work. And yeah, anything to add to that, Matt, before we take off?
Yeah, I would just say, besides what we've always done for the community, we've always had a North Star, again, of trying to provide some equality back to these financial markets and, try to give this global reach at the end of the day, because, what we want to see in the world is a better place for everybody. Like you always said, like you've had fuck you money since before you had fuck you money. And that's really important because, as we grow through this, our mentality is never going to change. We always have a North Star, which is, making our community members rich at the end of the day. And so each one of them could have, time back in their own lives, which they could spend with their family and create great memories. And if we can do that and make people happy, I know we'll succeed at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's got more fuck you money than the person with empty palms, right? Because you can always knuckle them up. So, and I think that we've had that from the beginning. I love the team. I love everything about what we're doing. I love the community. Like I wake up days like this fully charged to get going. And so I just appreciate everybody understanding the mission. I know like we typically give market analysis and game updates, but this is one of those things where the reason we created it is for this specific purpose. And this is kind of what the path that we're on. And when it hits, I fully expect to find more of us out there. I haven't given up hope in the world that there's a whole bunch of people out there just like that. Romy, what do you got to say, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to sneak in just before we cut things off here and just give a little sneak into what's coming next week for the community side of things.
Oh, yeah.
I thought take the chance with the people that are here, give them a little bit of an advantage. So we'll drop some details on Sunday into the community and then live on X. But for those that are here now, we'll have a brand new competition kicking off in Discord on Monday. There'll be daily prizes, weekly prizes, and monthly prizes of a mixture of Fide and USDC. Lots to get involved with. I think I did a tally up before. I think there's 8 different ways to win throughout the month. So lots of things to get involved in, lots of things to win, and getting engaged and getting in early will give you a foot up on the prizes for sure. So yeah, make sure you jump in the Discord. Make sure you're ready for that, and we'll drop some more info on that shortly. And for the alpha testers in the community as well, we've got some extra access coming up to Fide Surge for you. So I'll drop some updates on that once we have the details confirmed, but expect to get your hands on the game a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right, man. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, you can get into the game. It's going to be opening up for the people who are a little more engaged. So we're going to be broadening the people who can play and then taking that feedback directly and improving the game with it. Also, to double down on what Roaming said, we could do discord.gg/fide-token to get into it generally. So you can also find us on YouTube. You can find us on X, at YouTube's at Metafide, X is at Fide_AI. So find us there, join the community, get involved, tell your friends, and find the good people who want to come along and be a part of this, because we're not just sitting here flipping meme tokens. Like we're building something meaningful. We're glad to be doing it with all of you. So thank you. Everybody have a good weekend. Remember, it's Friday, right, Worm? So have a good one. Be safe, and we'll see you next week, 9:30 a.m. Tuesday morning Eastern time. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.